Welcome back to the Iron Insight, episode 6. Start your week off right with the Iron Insight. Today we're here with Mr. Beau Wigington from WELD.com. I'm one of your hosts, Bryn Weld.
And I'm Andrew Nichols with Southern Leatherworks.
And
Welcome
I'm Beau
back
Wigington.
to another episode of the WELD.com podcast. No, it's kind of crazy because Beau is a podcast host himself. You've probably heard us shout him out with the WELD podcast by WELD.com on all platforms. Every platform imaginable, even ones we're not on. But yeah.
Gotta get out there, man. You gotta be everywhere the people are.
Absolutely.
It's hard to track the analytics across all these platforms.
Yep. Don't worry about the analytics. Worry about just finding people that want to listen. That's the main thing. Numbers will drive you crazy. Trust me.
Numbers drive you crazy.
I kind of like looking at it. It's because it's so different from what I'm used to, the social media side of things, TikTok, Instagram, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Were you born in North Carolina, Beau?
No, sir. I was born
really?
in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh, boy.
What
complete opposite. Holy cow.
What took you to North Carolina?
Well, I lived in Colorado after that for like 17 years. And then my dad got transferred out here for his job. So came and finished high school out here in North Carolina. And then went to college here, loved it. And then I went to LA for 5 years and was in bands out there, and then Nashville for 5 years, and then decided to move back home to Greensboro, North Carolina.
You've been to all the popular musician spots then, huh? Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool.
Where were you in Colorado?
I was in Littleton, and then I was in Highlands Ranch.
Oh, I know neither of those, but I don't like Colorado very much.
I don't like Colorado very much. Oh, man.
We're going not next week, but the week after that, we're flying out to Gunnison. We're going to be going and repairing some backcountry equipment. Like we're going to have to snowmobile out to it and then repair it. Yeah. And
that's serious.
We're going to snowboard down a hill and repair a rail at a terrain park. If everything lines up, that's another one of ours. We just want to get Austin snowboarding down the hill with the Aesop Volt on his
I was about to say, is the Aesop Volt going to make an appearance here? It's got to. Absolutely. That will be cool. Talk about some good shots.
A trip like that.
Me and Austin, baby.
Not the cameraman?
You're looking at him, man.
Oh, it's you.
Me and Austin. I mean, the way we're trying to do trips this year, like we just did one to Tennessee, where we were in Nashville, we were in Chattanooga, and Knoxville. And we just went back and forth filming each other for videos, and we stopped and did videos with different people all across the state. It was really cool.
You hit Ian from Big Tiger Garage, GarageBound. Who else was there?
So we did. So Ian, we did a bunch of videos with him down at his shop, which was really cool because we got to see. And there were some cool guys. And then we did some videos making a different in GarageBound, and then we went out and visited Adam Stretch. He's another guy that's made a bunch of videos with us. We visited his school and did some videos that are really, really fun, like the one that we just put out on TIG welding with a MIG torch.
Yes, I saw that.
I
saw that yesterday. He was shaking so bad. That was so funny.
Yeah. So many shakes.
What age did you get into the welding industry?
I think I was 33.
Okay.
33. How old are you now?
Dude, your guess is as good as mine.
Sensitive questions here.
No, the funny part about this is so Bryn was on the podcast and he always asked me my age, man. And so there was one year, I think it was the year before last, I thought I was 36. I think I'm turning 37 this year. I'm pretty sure. But the year that I was 35, I thought I was 36. And you came on the podcast and you asked me how old I was. And then we did another one later on. I did one with you at FabTech, and then I had you on again. And you asked me how old I was both times, which was very funny. But I said 36, and then I found out I was actually 35. My wife was like, "Why do you keep saying you're 36? You're 35." And I was like, damn. So now you always ask me how old I am, but I'm always second guessing myself.
So 33, is that what you said when you got into welding?
Yeah, dude. I got in 2020 is when I got into
Oh
welding.
man, what a time to get into it.
I had to. I was a full-time musician before that, and
Yeah.
there was no gigs. It was just like, all right.
So you're saying COVID pushed you into the welding field then?
Oh yeah. No, I had to find something because like I've always been in the entertainment industry. Like I've worked in music licensing. I do a lot of like film and TV music, and then I toured and write for people. Like that was my whole life. And then like COVID happened, didn't have anything to do, so I was like, well, what's open that I can learn a skill that I can make money, you know? And so I took a welding class, like an intro to welding class, and I was like, okay, I'll sign up for this, and then did a year program at the community college here, and then here I am today, man. Just
Did
still,
did you ever weld in a shop or anything like that?
yeah. I when I was going through school, so when I decided to go to school for welding, I decided, you know what would be a great idea? I'm gonna get a job at a steel yard so I can learn all about metal, right? It's like I'll learn all about the metal while I'm learning how to weld it. And like I made it like 2.5 weeks there because I was just unloading the trucks. I wasn't certified to drive a forklift, so I have to unload the trucks by hand and then
Oof.
just put it and stack it up. And so I was like moving like 10,000 pounds worth of metal every day, just like by hand.
Whew.
Then going and doing like 5 hour classes at night welding right after that. So it was hardcore, man. So I got out of working at the steel yard and I got this job at a fab shop that this guy was just starting. And he used to work in like NASCAR and he was starting his own shop. And it was very interesting. It was an interesting experience. But I worked
Huh.
there for quite some time, and then yeah, and then I got out of school and started just doing jobs on my own.
You got into like a prime time position for yourself. Like I don't know anybody that would fit this position as well as you because you came from entertainment. You had a lot of equipment already and now, you get to travel. It's a cool gig and I don't think anybody has the resume for that as perfect as you do.
It's a pretty it is very funny. I laugh at it all the time because I'm just like, man, this is a very very specialized skill. Is just making entertaining videos, but still having a welding experience and all like audio and just everything. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making videos and making podcasts and that was one of my biggest things I saw at weld.com when I came in, like because they hired me first. I was just making videos and it was fun. I was having a great time, but I kept seeing it was really a big struggle for expecting like welders, people who have welded their whole life to like know a lot about cinema, film, like making a good film and editing and getting good sound and all that kind of stuff, because it seems easy, but it's a lot more involved once you start diving into it. So,
Yeah, how many bands have you been in?
how many bands have I been in? I've been in like that. I've started 3 different bands. And then I used to play bass for a lot of different bands when I was in Nashville and tour with them. But at least, I would say at least 5 bands, including like high school, college, and then just random bands I was in for a short stint.
To the listeners that don't know, right now his band is Chuck Mountain. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put the links to all the platforms and whatnot. We were listening to it when you joined this call.
I'll shout you out because I told Brett, I was like, oh hey, I didn't really know he did music, or I didn't know he made music. And Brett's like, are you freaking kidding me? And he pulled out his phone and started playing it, and I was like, oh, I'll be darned, this is some pretty darn good music. So I think you got a new listener for me, that's for sure.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah.
Do you have an IPA line or a beer line with the band?
So fun part about the band. So we've been a band for like 7 years, but like the main thing we have focused on, we play a lot of breweries because I don't know if you know this, but North Carolina used to be the like #1 brewery per capita state that there was. So there's more breweries in North Carolina than any other state, and then we just got passed up by like New York maybe 2 years ago. But so we play a lot of breweries because breweries pay you a lot of money to come and play because we have our own PA system. So a lot of places they don't have that. So they'll pay a lot of money for you to come bring your PA and play for 3 hours. So that was what we were playing, like 150 to 200 dates a year. You know,
Dang.
it was
Wow.
it was
That's
a lot.
Holy cow.
A lot of shows. But so I started doing the podcast at weld.com. I was doing the Weld podcast, and after about a year of doing it, I was like, man, I want to have another podcast about beer because I really love beer. We play at all these places, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take the same approach that I take with the Weld podcast of, all right, I want to talk to brewers, see how they got to where they are today, you know, figure out what makes their brewery so special, and then advice for people trying to get into the brewing industry. Exact copy of what I do at Weld, you know, but just with beer. And through that, we ended up making 5 different collaborations with either just playing at breweries a whole bunch or interviewing them on the podcast. We released, like, we went and brewed and we're part of like the brewing process, canning process, and put out 5 different beers last year. I was really hoping for 6. I was trying to have a 6-pack. So
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
yeah, but it's just random things, man. I love doing random things.
Yeah, you got your definitely not all your eggs in one basket.
He's spread out for sure.
You got to diversify.
Do you think yeah, that's true. Do you think it was harder to start the podcast picking up where somebody else left off, or rather than starting fresh?
I was eager. I was excited because I like podcasts. Podcasts are my thing. I've been listening to podcasts for years. I'd never started one because I was like, what am I going to start one about, you know? And I was really excited. It was fun to pick it up because I've always been a huge fan of weld.com. Like when I got into welding, that was a huge, huge resource for me while going through school because as you guys know, going through school, it's hard to see demos close up every single time. And sometimes you just want to see it. I just need to see it, and then I'll understand what I'm supposed to do, you know? So I was a big fan of weld.com, and then we started a podcast, and I was like, man, I really want to make this better because I'm an audio guy. I was like, podcasts are supposed to be very, very, like, that's the thing about listening to them. It's like, I'm like sitting in a cozy blanket, listen to this voice coming over the microphone, you know? But I was pumped, but also starting a new one, you're starting brand fresh new. Like you guys, like you're starting this one. And I'm really excited. I'm excited to see the growth of it and the journey it takes you on. But it is hard growing a podcast. It's way different than any other thing. Like your YouTube channel, there's a bunch of people that are like, I'll watch a video, right? But not everybody listens to podcasts. It's not everybody's thing. And so it's hard to find podcast listeners, you know, no matter if you're an established brand or not, it's hard to find people that listen to podcasts. So you got to go to where people listen to podcasts to like advertise. And I have never done that. You know, I've never even tried that yet. So it's just hard. It's hard growing it no matter if you're established or not, I think.
But it's a lot of fun. I mean, I just love talking to people.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Just getting the opportunity to do it, you know, for I don't know, a little side hustle is fun. I'm going to take you back a little bit.
All right.
Tell me a little bit about Studio 4 recording studio.
Oh man, dude. Studio 4. So I went to college here in Greensboro, and I was in a student film that was at this recording studio called Studio 4. And it was a really good time, and I talked to the owner, and I was like, hey, man, like, what do you do with this studio? Like, I would love to come work here. And so he was like, if you want to come and record people, come record people. So I recorded a couple people, like, through there, but I just helped try kind of manage it when I was in college, but it was just getting more people into the door. And then I left for LA after that. And I was supposed to go open up a studio with him in LA, but that fell through, unfortunately.
Oh man. Did you have a panda costume?
I did. So I was a theater major. That was my major. I have a BFA in acting. So every year they had this big party called the Bash. And so my freshman year going to the Bash, I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go rent like a weird like animal costume and not tell anybody who I am and just like walk around and be silent all night. And so I went and I found that panda costume and I was like, all right, let's rent this. This will be fun. And so like I walked around like all over campus, just like walking around, just not saying anything, and everybody was like taking pictures and stuff. Then I went to this dance party at night. Like everybody in the whole theater department's there. And I just hung out and danced, and nobody knew who the panda was for at least a week. It was awesome.
That's great.
What year was that?
That was probably 2007.
Yeah.
Man, you creeping on my Facebook hardcore, I think.
Dude, he went full Facebook mom on you, dude. He was scrolling back.
Dude, there's a lot of stuff in there, dude.
Yeah. What about Chris Full? How did he not wake up when y'all wrote all over him?
He was just kind of inebriated at that point. Those are college days, bro. That was way back.
2007 is when that was, and I was 3 years old.
Like, that made me 5, dude. Holy crap.
Yeah, jeez. That is crazy, dude. That's insane. Yeah, I forget how much older I am than y'all.
Yeah, did we just make you feel old? Is that what we did?
Very old, dude.
That's my objective every time we talk to Beau.
Yeah, dude. Achieved. That's crazy. You're 5 years old.
What do your other band members do? Do they do it full time or?
So one of them is a nanotechnologist. He makes nanotubes. And then the other guy, he is a beer sales rep now and a bartender.
Wow.
Huh. Nanotechnologist.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I don't even know what all that entails.
Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
How many episodes of the WELD podcast were there before you started it?
There's 43.
43, and now there's
146.
Dang.
Holy cow. Yeah.
So you've done 103 already.
Yeah.
Been putting out the work. Holy cow.
Yeah. Yep.
So what do you
I've
think?
edited over 100 now. It's like that's when you guys hit that, like talk to me, bro, because that's like a rule in the podcasting world where they're like, because I've been trying to figure out like, should I get an editor? You know, it's like that would make my life so much easier. But there's like an unwritten rule in the podcasting world: can't get an editor until you've edited 100 of your own.
Really? All right, then.
I don't feel like I would trust an editor to edit it the way that because as we record them, I kind of think, oh, I'm going to cut there, cut here. I mark this for that. Yeah. You know, I don't know if I would like that.
Trust me. I know it's hard. It's hard to give up any kind of control over things that you feel really passionate about.
Yeah, that's your baby because you grew it like none other.
It's my baby.
I don't even know who hosted it before that. I didn't listen back then.
It's Jessica.
Is she still with WELD?
No. That's why I took it over.
Oh. Gotcha. Whoops. So what do you think is the most challenging part about your job?
My job? My job at weld.com?
Yeah. What is the hardest part?
Trying to balance everything I do. Because I do a lot outside of just the podcast. I run all the social medias. I edit all the social clips. I do the thumbnails. But now we have a new editor who is taking over the thumbnails, which I'm excited about. But doing the thumbnails, doing the SEO, doing all the research to see, is this even a topic we should be doing something about? Doing it with, and then going on these trips, filming. And that's the hardest part, is figuring out how to balance it. And so that's definitely the hardest part of my job, is figuring out how to balance all the work and figure out how we can grow weld.com. You know?
Is Doc a good person to travel with?
He is a great person to travel with. We're like brothers, you know. It's like because we've spent a lot of time together. Like over the past year, we've gone a lot of places together, and you know, just like if you go on a trip, a family vacation, you know, you're gonna have some tiffs. Like there's ups and downs, but overall, I really enjoy Austin as a travel partner. We're pretty good at it these days.
At FabTech, you brought the cameraman with you, right? What was his name?
Warren.
Warren, that's what I thought. So Out of Doc and Warren, who's worse to travel with?
I mean, they're both pretty easy. Like everyone's pretty. Warren, he does take a while to shop for things. We will say that. Like when we went to Makers Camp, we went. So me and Austin flew in, and we had to Uber over to meet him. And so we met him. We were supposed to meet him in this like Walmart parking lot because he had rented an RV and he was gonna come pick us up. So we like stop at this Walmart parking lot and he's not there. And so we're like, all right, well, I guess we'll go shop while he makes his way over to this one. and and so we shopped for a while. Then we came out and he showed up. And then we load all of our stuff in there. And he's like, all right, I'm going to run in real fast and grab some stuff. And it was like 45 minutes later. We're like sweating our asses off in this RV. We're just like, what is going on, man?
Where was that at? Makers Camp.
It was in East Durham, New York, which is in the Catskills Mountain
Oh, wow.
range. Yeah.
Huh. That's kind of an interesting place to hold it. Who puts that on?
It is a guy named Austin Handel, and but it's also like Jimmy DeResta. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's very influential in the maker community, which is like kind of like my direction into welding in the first place. Is like I've always dabbled making things, but he's very big in the maker scene, and he helped get that all going. So it's really freaking cool. Like if you guys could make it up, like you would have a blast.
In the past, I don't know, year maybe, you guys have been to Scrap Fest, Tennessee Fab Tech, Makers Camp. What else am I missing?
So last year, travel wise, went to Scrap Fest. That was our first like big travel thing. And then Houston, like Austin went around Texas doing some videos with people. I guess that's bleeding into this year. Last year, I don't know if we traveled anywhere else last year outside of FabTech. But then this year we've been to Florida. We went to Tennessee. We're about to go to Colorado. Then we're going to go to Michigan. And then we're going to be back down in Florida. And then I believe that's where we are holding off at the moment. But I'm supposed to be going back to to Scrap Fest this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is Scrap Fest like?
Scrap Fest is super cool. Like it is. Last year I got up there and just got to see Scrap Fest, which is like the festival they put on. So they shut down the downtown street in Lansing, Michigan. It's like Old Town part of it, which the whole town is built around this scrapyard, which is crazy because it was there and then it boomed an industry. And so like the city was built around it. But they shut down the whole downtown, and then all down the street, there's just sculptures from all kinds of different people. Like last year, I think there was like 32 different artists that had sculptures all down there. And it's all from scrap metal. So like all the teams, they have to come together on the same day, and they have an hour to collect 500 pounds of scrap metal that's donated to them to make these sculptures. And so then they have a month to build the sculpture, and then they put it up, and then they're judged. And like there's prizes. I'm not sure what the prizes are, but there's prizes.
Yeah, I was able to meet the guy that puts that on. I think his name's Mike, right?
Mike Bass.
Yeah. At FabTech, I had dinner with him and Johnny Snyder from Johnny S. Weld.
Oh, Johnny. I love you, Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny's a great guy. I called him last night. Unfortunately, he's sick right now. Hopefully, when this episode comes out, you're feeling better, Johnny. But, yeah, Scrapfest seems like such a cool idea, man. I wish there was something local, like, around me like that. That's a genius idea. And Mike comes from kind of the same background you do, right, with music?
Yeah, so Mike's a musician, but his family owns the scrapyard. Like his family is the people that own Freeman Industries, which is the scrapyard, which is pretty crazy. So, yeah.
How old's that scrapyard?
Old. It's
old.
You said the whole city was built around it. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, there's so much history around it, and like that was one of the coolest parts about going to Scrapfest, because I was there. I was essentially going to go up there just to do a podcast. Like that was my whole plan, was to go up and do a podcast, and they're like, "We're going to send Warren with you," And so Warren came up to film, and so I was like, okay, if we're filming a show, we're gonna film a show. So I was like, here's my little mini travel documentary with Beau, and so that's the way I approached it. And I got to hang out with Ivan Eiler, super cool guy. Like he showed us this giant sculpture he was working on, and I got to help him make a branch and weld it on. I felt really cool.
Yeah, Ivan does some crazy work. He was on Metal Shop Masters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was in. I don't know. Sometimes his Instagram's funny when he's got such a deep, raspy voice. He's like
It's the best podcast guest you'll ever have. Trust me. I've
he's
had
like
him on multiple times, and I love it.
he's like a backwoods Fabio.
He big fan of Ivan.
Yeah, I love it when he does deer mounts. Something about the eyes. I don't know. The eyes that he puts in those are crazy.
Yeah, he had one sculpture he was working on with a couple other people from the show, Luis and Frank, that was there in his shop when we got to see it. Like we put out a bunch of videos from that shop, but there's one of the thumbnails where you see this eye, like on a sculpture under a blanket. Like that was a crazy eye, but I agree. He does a really good job with eyes.
It's funny because when me and Andrew were walking in, Atlanta was our first Fab Tech. So when we were walking into the Hard Rock Cafe after party,
he was right there on the right, man. He was right there on the right.
Yeah, we walked into the wrong one, and we walked in with Frank and Louise. They were behind us, and they're like, "No, the party's the building over." And so me and Andrew turn around, and I'm like, "Oh my God, Frank, Louise!" And they're like, "What's up? What's up? I was like, "Let's get a picture." They were like, "No, we can't get a picture right here. We'll get it once we get in there. Promise me." And I was like, "All right." So we go to the right building, and then we split up. We grabbed our plates, and that's where we met Weston from Salt City Steel, and
super cool guy.
Yep. We end up. They end up finding me after. They were looking around for me throughout the show, and they stuck true to their word, and they came and found me and got a picture with me. I was super hyped. Frank and Louise, what a bunch of good dudes.
Super hyped.
So are you hyped about Fab Tech being in Florida this year or what?
I don't know. Florida, I spend a lot of time in Florida nowadays, and I'm not a fan of the food in Florida. That's one of my biggest things traveling is like I judge places super hard by the food. And Florida, I've been to beaches all over the place. They're all the same. They got sand. They got water. I'm happy, So the food there just sucks. So
well, where are you eating at? Because I'm a Florida native, and I don't know, man. I don't know.
Like I've eaten at so many different places, and my big thing is I love shrimp po' boys. Like that's my jam, dude. And the last time we were in Florida, I had shrimp po' boy 3 days in a row because the first one wasn't good. Second one wasn't good. And I was just like, there's got to be one good one, and it wasn't. It was all bad, bro.
Where at in Florida were y'all hanging out at, and what were y'all doing down there?
Our office, the weld lab that we were bringing back the weld lab. It's in Largo, Florida.
Okay.
So, I played a songwriter festival in Port St. Joe. Have you ever been there?
I have not, but I know where it's at.
That is the one place in Florida that has good food. that area. I played this, like I was in this competition for like a best song competition, and I played and I didn't win. I was all pissed off, and so it was like one of the craziest experiences. So like I finished that competition. So I'm mad because it didn't win. So I went out to the ocean and I was pissed because I was counting on that money to pay rent. And I was like, why did I come here? And I was just mad. And then there's people out in the ocean swimming. And they're like, hey, get in the ocean. And I was just like, what? And I'm like, look out. And they're like, get in the ocean. I was like, you know what? Screw it. Why not? And so I just took off all my clothes down to my boxers and swam out. And as I'm swimming out, I start noticing bioluminescence. When you sometimes in the ocean, if you swim through at night, the plankton, they'll light up. So it just looks like you're swimming through stars. And so I get out to these people and they're like, why are you so upset? And I was like, I was just really kind of hoping that something would happen. They're like, just chill, man, and look up. It's a meteor shower. So I was like swimming in bioluminescence and there's a meteor shower. I'm out here with like these two random people from Ireland. And but then the next day, so that was just crazy. Crazy experience that happened. And then the next day they were like, hey, let's go and get some, like, we'll take you to this really good spot. And we went to this place called Raw Bar, I believe is what it was called. But yeah, I could walk in. There's like all kinds of different beers. You walk and get whatever you want. And then you order your oysters. And then at the end of the meal, you just tell them what you had. And it's like on an honor system. And I was like, see, this is the type of place.
That
One
is
good place in Florida.
That is a movie moment right there.
Yeah, right there. That's crazy. Well, if you're down there long enough, I might get you on a mud boat, and I'll take you, and we can do a podcast on the mud boat, surrounded by Florida swamp and alligators. If you're wanting
actually,
to.
I'd be into that.
We should definitely do some sort of
I
video.
could get you some movie style shots on a sweet mud boat. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Where in Florida are you?
I'm in Ocala, Florida. It's about an hour and a half north of Orlando. We're like Central Florida.
Okay, so that's probably like 2 hours from Largo.
I believe so. I don't know actually for sure how far.
You need that sun pass to get there.
Getting out of Orlando, yeah, but once you get north of stupid Orlando, it's all right. But yep, I was born and raised there, so.
Well, if you can get us on a fan boat, we're gonna have to make that happen.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that. Like we could go from your shop and then some sort of video in your shop and then get out on a boat in the swamp.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. I mean, there's a lake just 15 minutes north that we run around on, and we run around and get stuck and have a good time.
Don't tempt me with a good time now.
All right.
We'll see who can keep the welding helmet on an alligator the longest.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
That'll be a great one. Oh man.
Or maybe a Burmese python. Who can catch the most?
That too.
How did you guys come up with the name Chuck Mountain?
So, Chuck Mountain was, so when I was living in Nashville, I worked at this place called The Basement, which is like really cool. If you ever go to Nashville, you got to go to The Basement and see a show because it's like underground. Metallica recorded an album there. Like it's a very, very cool, like hidden gem in Nashville. But I worked there, and the owner, there was a record shop above the bar. So he came down and he was like, hey, there's a bunch of kids coming down because of this like artist that was in store doing like a in-store performance. So don't let any of these kids in. And I was like, oh, I'll chuck them out, man. And he was like, Chuck Mountain, that's a great nickname. Because everybody at the venue had a nickname. And so he was like, Chuck Mountain, that's a great nickname. And so I became Chuck Mountain. But then Chuck Mountain became my alter ego when I would black out. And Chuck Mountain was the most insane person I've ever met. So, actually, I never met him.
I've never met him. I was never there when he was around.
I've only heard tales of Chuck Mountain. So that was like, I was in between Low-Key Gorgeous and Chuck Mountain for the band name when I moved out here. And so we stuck with Chuck Mountain.
How'd you find your fellow band members now?
One guy I worked at a burger shop with. And then the other guy I hired when I was the lead, like I was the head of the lessons department at Guitar Center, and I hired him to be one of my instructors.
That's crazy. And it's working out.
Yeah. I mean, right now we are on a little bit of a break just because WELD.com is a lot to do at the same time.
Oh, I can only imagine. I tip my hat towards you. That just seems like a lot to coordinate.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff on your plate.
Yeah.
A lot of chip on your dip.
Talk about dip. I'm a fan of dips, dude. I had the Southwestern dip the other day. I don't know. It was from Food Lion, which is, I don't know if you know what a Food Lion is.
Yes, I know what a Food Lion is.
It was like a Food Lion brand, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try it. And it was great. Great.
So I
Southwestern
got a question for your IPAs again. So on all your IPAs you got, what is the closest to a PBR or a Coors Light? Because that's about it.
That is a different style of beer, my friend.
Yeah,
Well,
I was wrong.
I'm
I called
thoroughly
it.
disappointed.
I called it. Wait, are they IPAs?
So we made one milkshake IPA. We made 2 hazy pale ales. We did make one called More to Life with a brewery out of Virginia that is a Australian sparkling ale, but it is pretty close to a Pilsner.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
Huh.
yeah, Scuffle Hill Brewing. Check it out. It's probably gone because they're always limited releases, so it's not always on tap. So
And that's in Virginia. That one.
that one, I don't think it's probably gone by now. We made that was in November, but no, it's yeah. So if it's still there, it was a bad beer.
It was a bad beer.
It was really good, actually.
All your years on the road, you're a traveling man. What is the craziest thing that you have encountered?
Oh, dude, there's a lot. It's probably one time. So I played bass for 2 different country bands on this like Pepsi tour, and we had one show. Like I'll never forget because this was the worst tour experience I had too. Because we played in Memphis, and then the next day we were playing in Junction City, Kansas, which is a 14-hour drive. So we had to drive, and we had a radio interview at like 11 a.m. So we had to play a 3-hour gig, then drive 14 hours through the night to get to this radio. Like we just had to show up and do this radio thing. We do this radio thing. We go play at this biker club that night. And in the band I was in LA, I don't know. God, there's so many crazy stories from bands. But this one, so now I'm going to go back to the craziest one in LA. This one's way better. So I was in a band and we played a lot of biker things because we had a bunch of biker fans and they would always ask us to play their shows. So we played this one that was in the middle of nowhere, like 20 minutes away from like any kind of civilization. It was owned by the Devil's Disciples, this like bar/camp area. And so we go out there and we show up and right as soon as we walk in to go check out the venue, they're like, "Hey, we need you to come over here and judge our moonshines." And so we're like, okay, and so like go and try like 12 different apple pie moonshines, like back to back to back to back to back to back to back.
Oh no.
And it's like, okay. And so I was wasted at that point, and I was like, I don't know, they all taste the same, And so we go and
So now Chuck Mountain is judging these moonshines at this point.
Well, this was pre-Chuck. Yeah,
this was pre-Chuck Mountain. Sorry,
but this was where he came from for sure. But so we go, and so we had to play 2 sets. I had to play 2 sets. Like we had to do an acoustic set first to just warm up the crowd, and then play full band. And so me and my bass player at the time, he's playing stand-up bass and I'm playing acoustic. We play a set, we sober up, with this acoustic set. And then it was time for full band, and like we are a rowdy band. So like people would get pretty wild. And we're playing, and then all of a sudden I see this dude like rushing the stage, and I know it. I know he's gonna like try to dive into the drum set. I'm like, no, sir. And so I'm literally singing a song, and then this guy runs by me on the right. I catch him by the neck and I throw him out into the audience. And I'm just like, where did that mother strength come from? Because like I was a little guy, but I threw this guy out into the crowd, and everybody goes, yeah. And then you see like this guy just disappear. Like he like pulled out, and I'm just like, take your, can I curse on this one? Okay.
Yeah,
you can say whatever you want.
I'm like, take your fucking shirts off, and everybody takes their shirts off in the bar. We keep playing, we rock out, and it was so crazy. It was the most like I felt like a rock star. Like that was the only time I've ever really, really felt like a rock star. And
That is awesome.
and then I find out later, I'm like, what happened to that guy? And they're like, oh, he was a Hell's Angels prospect. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay.
Oh boy.
I was like, I'm not gonna get involved. I don't want to be around it. Yeah, no, there's been a lot of crazy times on the road, y'all.
Well, tossing a Hell's Angel prospect off a stage is pretty kick-ass.
Well, it wasn't
I'll
a
say
stage.
that.
We were just on the ground floor.
Oh, just on the ground floor.
This
Oh,
was like
yeah. There you go.
Very, very close quarters to everybody. But it was pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Oh my gosh.
Have you seen the movie The Dirt about Motley Crue?
I did see that, I think, with MGK. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
saw that.
That sounds like a straight up moment out of their first concert at the Whiskey
I
a
played
Go
at the Whiskey a Go many a time. That was the very
Really?
first Heavy Heart show was at the Whiskey a Go. Yep.
That's
Not
fucking sweet.
It is not sweet. It may have been cool back in the 80s, but it sucks now, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Oh, why?
It's-
What's so wrong with it?
The Sunset Strip, like you got the Roxy, you got the Whiskey a Go, you got the Viper. Well, you used to have the Viper Room. You got the Rainbow Room. All this really awesome music history has gone down, pay to play. So like they're like, all right, you can play this 15-minute time slot if you sell 20 tickets, and if you don't sell all the tickets, you just have to pay us for what you don't sell. And that's like how they get there's because there's so many people moving to these music cities to try to make it, so like, hell yeah, dude, I'm gonna play the Whiskey a Go. And that's what I was like. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go play the Whiskey a Go. Because I had just recorded a CD. Like I had an agent that was trying to sign me, and he wanted me to record a CD. And so I recorded a CD, and then I gave it back to that agent, and he was like, no. This is like, he was expecting like an acoustic CD, and I gave him the Heavy Hearts. And I don't know if you've listened to the Heavy Hearts before, but you should definitely check it out.
What's a CD?
Yeah, right, dude.
we were only 4 and 5.
I used to walk up and down the Sunset Strip, like handing out freaking EPs, bro. Like that's what we would do.
Wow. So between Nashville and you said LA was where you performed at as well as a music artist. Which one was cooler to you? What had a cooler experience for you?
Oh, they had different experiences. Very different. Like
okay.
I will never get to relive the days I had in LA. It was very crazy times. Like that band was like on the trajectory to like really, really take off. So that was really, really cool. Like, cause we were just playing all these cool shows, cool pop-ups. We were getting all these cool opportunities. And then when I moved to Nashville, everybody in my band was like a session player. So like they all started getting session work, and then they got offered big gigs, and that's the downfall of that band. But Nashville, I learned a whole different world because I was there as kind of like a solo singer-songwriter. And Nashville is all about songwriting. And so I learned a lot about writing music there, but playing, it's like this, it's a really cool, I don't know. Have y'all ever been to New York?
I have not.
Okay.
I've been through it. Buffalo, to be specific.
Like the vibe of living in New York. Like it's like a struggle, but like you're in it together, right? Like there's a bunch of people just kind of struggling to get by. That's kind of what the Nashville vibe is there's all these singer-songwriters out there trying to make it. And so like you support each other, you write with each other, you have rivalries, you have people you love, you have people you hate, but like there's this like really thriving community. And like that was really cool to be a part of because like I knew everybody. I knew all kinds of people. One, because I was a singer-songwriter, and then two, I was a bartender at two of the most popular clubs. So like I knew everybody. I would meet them all at the shows, So that was cool. That was the coolest. If I had to compare the two, I will never give up my days in LA, but my time in Nashville really, really just showed me a different side of everything. Because I got to meet like huge artists, small artists, just all kinds of different cool people out there. So
that's awesome.
Damn, have you done anything in Austin?
We played
Texas?
South by Southwest when I was in that band in LA. It was funny because we just moved to Nashville, and then we got booked to play it at South by Southwest, and we drove all the way there in a Prius. Four guys
man,
with all of
getting the fuel mileage.
dude,
Getting
we
the
had
fuel
four
mileage.
dudes and our guitars, our bass, like two guitars, bass, and then like snare drum and cymbals. Like we had all that in a freaking Prius. We drove from Nashville down, played our gig, and then drove back. It was so dumb. But that's the only time I've done
That
something in Austin.
that community where you're talking about everybody struggles to get by together kind of sounds like the Austin comedy scene. I listen to this podcast called Kill Tony.
Dude, I
Have
love
you heard of
it.
that?
I did improv comedy
Tony's
for
good.
7 years, bro.
Really?
Wow.
Dude, I think if I was down in Austin, I would put my name in the bucket on Kill Tony.
I would watch that. I would watch it.
I would watch that too.
But like, the people that he interviews after they do their 60-second set is like, you hear, oh, I'm living in my car. Oh, I live in this apartment with 9 other guys. It's like, that's crazy.
The world of an artist, like, it's really crazy. That's why I'm really pumped. I found welding, and the position I'm in right now is a really great way to reach out to people in the arts to be like, hey, a great way of supporting yourself, like when you're not on the road, or it's just learn how to weld. Like you could fix shit for people. You can you could sell your artwork. You could go and get a job and then quit when you want to go on tour. It's like there's so many ways that you can support yourself. Cause I always bartended. That was my before welding. That was how I would get by. Cause I could work 3 days in a week and walk home with like $1,200, as like easy money. Like, cause I was also I was very good. I'm a very good bartender, but I don't take any shit. I'm just like, if you don't know what you want, I'm moving on, and if you ask me to make something fruity, I'm going to make you something really gross. Like I didn't have time. I was like, I'm here to sell as much alcohol as I can.
Yeah.
So my buddy's a bartender, and I always ask him, or I just asked him, does anybody ever freak out when you cut them off?
Yeah. So when I was working at the bar in Nashville, like the venue, people tend to get really drunk really fast at venues because you're there for like a normal bar. They open up at like 1 p.m. and they close down. In Nashville, they close at 3, right? So you got a long time to get done what you want to do. When you're at a venue, it opens doors are at 7. It's all done by like midnight. So people try to get an entire night worth in that time. So people get really intoxicated and feisty. So my favorite thing to do is you take your bar tool and your bar rag, and a bar tool has a little circle on the end that most people just spin it on. But I would take that and shove it through a bar rag and slap the top of the bar. It's like, get the fuck out. And nobody ever fought with me when I did it that way. But
I throw the Hell's Angel prospect out of the freaking band member. Don't mess with me.
That was my way to do it. But I worked at this like barcade out here, and people it was great kicking people out there, because if they said anything, I would just be like, security, and then security take them out. But people, you got to think about it from a bartender's perspective. So if you went and you got ripped up and you drove and you killed somebody, that goes on the bartender, right? Like, so it goes back to the bartender. Yeah. So that's why, like, bartenders, I don't give a shit. Like, I'll kick you out. I'm done, because this is my job. This is how I make money. And a lot of people just don't see it that way, especially when you do get cut off. Sure, it's embarrassing because you had too much, but we're looking out for you. Trust me.
Yeah. I think we've reached a good wrapping up point, and this section really applies to you. Here's something that we ask every guest. What is your favorite genre of music to listen to while you work or weld?
Lo-fi hip-hop.
Yeah. Whoa!
Hip-hop, okay.
Was
getting
not
groovy.
Expecting that.
Lo-fi hip-hop and like MF Doom. Like, that's my like go-to, is like I'll put on like MF Doom radio and just sit there. I love beats. I make beats too, but I don't do anything with them. But yeah, no, I freaking love hip hop music. I just can't rap. But
That makes 3 of us.
Yep, that makes 3 of us.
Well, Beau, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Start your week off right with the Iron Insight. And every Friday, Beau drops an episode on the WELD by WELD.com podcast on all platforms.
Weld by
What time is it?
weld.com. Every Friday at
Right?
5 a.m. Eastern.
5 a.m. Eastern. There you go. And if you want an Everlast welder or edge welding cups, hit me up at Bryn Welds, BRYNWELDS, or hit the show notes. If you order through that link, you get the free upgraded Nova torch and TIG pedal package, which is worth $100 value. Edge welding cups, order through that link and use code BrynWelds15 for 15% off. And Mr. Andrew?
And if you're looking for custom leather products, you can head over to southernleatherworks.net. You can hit me up on TikTok or Instagram, wherever you see fit, and I will get
And
back
if you
to
want
you.
the coolest app
Thank
in the
you.
welding world, download a Weld app today, y'all. Find it.
That's right. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put Beau's links to Beau's socials and the Weld podcast, Weld.com app, and the Weld socials in the show notes if you want to check them all out. Or if you want to go by the @ it's at Weld.com, at Beau Did It Welding. Yeah. And Chuck
Thank you,
Mountain.
Bo.
Chuck Mountain.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck Mountain, for coming on.
Yeah, we'll put the Chuck Mountain, the band, the Spotify, all
Yeah,
that.
there's going to be a book to
Thank
read
you.
at the end of this, y'all.